You know what's interesting is that when Fidel Castro talked about the foundation of how to change the whole society, he's very similar to us in that he was saying that education was the main key and that culture was to change education to change the culture. And if the culture of the people was right, because of the knowledge, they would live the right way. Now, that was the two principles in our supreme math, right? I always look at things from the vantage point of my own self. So most media, when they wrote critically about music, they always criticized the record labels, things that weren't them. But I always felt it from the angle that I was at, or what I wasn't seeing. I think that in general, not just music, but everything, our youth, this generation, and as it continues to grow, in our age group too, because it's really our age group fucking up too. There's no education and appreciation of the worth of creativity. And I say that because that's kind of like, that's really the work of what a music journalist is. It's music appreciation. People think it's diss and whack songs and shit like that, but that's only to equalize. Well, you like that bullshit though. Let me tell you why that's fucked up, so that way you can understand how dope this is. You know what I mean? So if you see some idiot, if someone hears Kenny G, it sounds nice to people, but then I have to tell them like, this is some bullshit right here. I'm gonna show you about Coltrane. Like, yeah, I'm showing extremes here, but like, we have to dumb down and we have to show where Kenny G really is to show you how dope Coltrane is, or else you'll never appreciate, right? Mm-hmm. The youth don't have any appreciation of our creativity, like the depths it goes to, how difficult it is to create the work. Like, what's the right if there's no hell in it? Because when I teach Love Hella Right, I always say it's work. It's not outside. Most of the build in Love Hella Right is outside of ourselves, and I've always disagreed with that because there's no mystery God, and we already decided in the 10th degree not to wait for a mystery God, and that there is no mystery God. So how would the hell be something imposed on us? So I always like to look at proactively, what's the hell that we go through? What's the work? And the work you go through to do something great is some crazy shit. Like, you can make some insurmountable shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, right, you say, oh, I'm gonna write all this and shit. You know what I mean? Like, what could be the next thing? You know, like, when I wrote, I didn't go out and say, listen, I'm gonna write about fucking 400 records in a year. Nobody would say to do that. But I was like, yo, let's try some crazy shit. That's what I think people need to know. So a little bit by little, I took it like, small pieces of a mountain and shit like that. Now, by the end of the year, that first time I did it, that shit was, I was killing myself. I was listening to music all night, then I had to like detox listening. I listened to other music to detox the sound and shit like that, right? Then go back and keep going, right? And by the time I hated music by the end of that first book, right? But the thing is that, like, I think that the education is off, God. We're not teaching people what creativity really is, and that creativity is a value of the work that you put in to make something that, to the best of your ability, expresses you so uniquely that it doesn't exist prior to you making it. You see what I'm saying? That you put that much work into it. And then for the person that already creates, so that omnipotent will make something that didn't exist before from his own work. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like now creativity is the guy that makes a lot of shit, though, he'll just make the same type of shit that he always made because people fuck with that. So and look, that's most fans. They expect the same type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like when I made this album, I'm not saying that I'm nowhere near incredible MC. But there's no way I said shit on that record that anybody heard before. I made sure of that. But the first thing I heard that was kind of a naysay thing or a surprise that people said was like, you said it like a compliment, '07, right? But some people said like, like, it's so many different styles that you did. I didn't know. Like, they didn't know I was a human, that I had all these ideas. So it's like we like things the same way. We want a certain, like, you're supposed to give us a flavor and then we get strawberry for the whole album. We get vanilla for this whole album. And that's not creativity. That's not creativity at all. It's funny that '07 is here because he has fucked with me in many years make, rhyming dope on beats that I wasn't so heavy on, you know what I'm saying? And I would have to be like, oh, well, I like it when you do it, like, because I wouldn't like it if anybody else did it. But then it showed me the emceeing prowess, like the ability of the MC to make a complete song, you know what I'm saying? It changes the parameters of what making a complete song is. So now when I write about it, I have to talk about these sensibilities and how they got erupted and destroyed, you know what I'm saying? And then the people that read it get an idea about creativity, but it's about teaching creativity. This is why this is so important to me, because if we're teaching people, I'm not teaching anybody to be God or Earth. They were already naturally that. But the activity to be that is like, be creative. You have to be creative somehow. How could you be creative? Then if somebody engages though, right? If I make them engage in assignments, creative writing, write some poetry, they think it's bullshit, like it came out horrible, they'll never write in their journal and be honest though, come up with new words, because they can't describe what they live today, and they want to. Now it means something. And then now when they do something that has nothing to seemingly do with creation, I don't know, architect, something else, right? They create parameters that didn't exist. That's how we create a world. So the world that they create that isn't considered creative though is being created, right? How do we change this building, right? How do we finally do something that we've been trying to think of, right? Because there's a lot of ideas that are great, but we never seem to blend them together, right? Like it's like, dealing with a lot of schools is like dealing with unified theory, right? We're trying to look for the unified theory in the universe. And gods have the gravity, they have this, but they don't put it all together and shit like that, right? But these are the assignments of creativity. Yes, we could input all of the squares and, figure out the Rubik's Cube for us, you know what I mean? But that doesn't give you the work. It doesn't give you the work.
It takes away from the journey.
Yeah.
It takes away from the journey.
And the work is important.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, my little one has like the smaller Rubik's Cube. And she was like getting frustrated, and I said, you solve the problem the way you want. And she was like, she goes, can I have your phone? And she immediately YouTube, how do I solve the Rubik's Cube? Right? So, but it was so funny because it didn't have a guide with the actual block, and he said, do this, that, and then you have it here. He basically gave a series of moves, so you still have to learn the patterns that give you stuff.
She ain't just try to take the stickers off.
Yeah, they don't make it like that no more though. That's why.
Oh wow.
The one it's all plastic, so so it's embedded in there. You can't do it. You know what I mean? So I said it's the idea of every now and then picking it up and messing with it to challenge your brain. Like it gets you sharper even without knowing. And like this is how you develop creativity. You know what I'm saying? And we don't do that. So like a lot of times in the classroom, I spend a lot of time having people notice the challenges of creativity, because like you asked me about the album. there are a lot of frustrations because the hip hop song, right? That shit has so many limitations compared to the paper. You know what I'm saying? I'm confined to a music. I have to be in tune with the music. I have to go with the theme. Let alone chorus though. I can't even do a chorus though, because choruses are evil and you know what I'm saying? And like then I have to make it catchy. That's like I've been writing against catchy things my whole life, and then so I was like, come on, you gotta do the chorus though. But he still forced me to try to do choruses. So there's a lot of songs that don't have my chorus though, but like he forced me to do them. So like the Our Swords, the last song on the album, that was a chorus that I wrote. But it didn't come out right, but it had the nice words though, and then he fixed it and it made it to a chorus, because I was like, fuck this, and I was like, I threw the whole thing, and I was like, fuck this guy, you're the chorus master, you do it. But like, that was the whole thing, the creativity. I create a lot of shit, but I realized like, the exercise of doing this now puts me in another realm now, you know what I'm saying? Absolutely. And like, that's what the children need. They need these challenges of creativity. You know what I'm saying? If they get it like where it's homogenized and shit like that, like if they get used to a homogenized sound and shit, like a lot of the kids now, they appreciate the arts by the result of the art, not actually the art. So like, not to sound like an old man, but like we appreciated the enjoyment of the art. So like we'd be in this to walk into a cipher and hear like brothers rhyming in a cipher, and they have to make it up, and you're having fun with that shit, right? That's an example of that. It still goes on, but that's an example. Whereas now it's more about what happened with the art. You made this and now you blew up. You made this and now you're here. You made this and now you're here. So it channels off to other things. So if they want the culture of Ultra Vlad, it doesn't matter what Vlad does. That's devilish. In the end, though, it's like he still has the numbers. So the artist, even that craves creativity and has respect to creativity, will still go on that shit 1,000 times. I'm telling you now, they'll still go on there 1,000 times because he has reach. So the results of the work are more respected than the actual work itself. You know what I mean? So this is
and what he's doing and how.
Oh yeah, how he gets there and shit like that. You know, it's Machiavellian. You know, in that sense, yeah.
I mean, you know, he's established himself, guys. So you know, there's a lot of people that have made them a part of their everyday diet.
Yeah.
You're seeing that also becomes something to bring.
If Mecca did this.